If you're hearing this at night, don't look at your door. If someone knocks while this story is playing, do not answer. The last person who ignored that rule left a tape. On the label, just one word: April. After I watched it, something started knocking. When I was 24, my grandmother died. No dramatics, no phone call from a hospital. She just stopped answering the kettle. The house was quiet the way a room goes quiet when you press your hand on the mouth of a bell. That house became mine. It sat 2 miles beyond the last streetlight, where pavement crumbled into a lane the locals called Hollow Road. People said the name softly, as if the road might overhear and decide to learn the sound. I drove out with a duffel bag, a cheap cooler, and the kind of false confidence you get from telling yourself you'll be brave. The house looked like an animal that had been sleeping a long time. Ribs of rotten porch boards, fur of peeling paint, breath that smelled faintly of old tea and something metallic, like pennies left in a jar too long. When I opened the front door, the air that came out had that metallic edge, that copper undertaste that wakes your mouth and tells your stomach something's wrong. On day 3, under a stack of yellowed bills wrapped in a brittle rubber band, I found the cassette, a VHS, a label handwritten in my grandmother's slow letters, April. I told myself I'd watch it the next night. But the house is a listener. It gives you reasons to stay. The tape began with static. Then my grandmother came into frame. Younger than I'd ever seen her in life, hair pulled back, apron dusted with flour. She looked at the camera like she was talking to someone who would come back for the future. "If anyone finds this, listen," she said. "Don't go down Hollow Road when it snows." Her laugh was thin and quick. A man off camera, my grandfather, muttered something. They walked the lane in daylight, the trees looped above them like knuckles. The sign at the start of the lane read, "Hollow Road, Private Lane." Someone had stapled a scrap of paper below, "Keep dogs on leash." Later, night, a wall of snow. The camera's breath came shallow and uneven. My grandmother's voice was flat. "If the road wants you, it will ask." The person behind the camera said it was nonsense. Then something moved. Not a silhouette, not an animal in any way that meant sense. It was tall, far beyond a human's reach, all long bones and hanging coat, limbs too long and folded as if someone had pulled them when they were wet and let them dry wrong. It leaned as if to listen, and the camera shook. The dog whimpered a short note and then fell from sound to silence. When the image returned, my grandmother stood alone. She held something wrapped in cloth, small, heavy. She looked directly into the lens and said, slow and even, "If you find this, turn back. Inside the house there will be a door that should not be there. Don't open it." Her smile at the end was the sort of smile that makes you think of locked drawers. The tape clicked off. I slept badly that night. Waking felt like someone had been tracing the seam at my jaw with a cold finger. The next morning I drove down Hollow Road. The iron bridge over the stream moaned cold iron. The water moved like it had something weighting it down below, a shape pressed to the concrete that looked like an arm, hair plastered to it by the current. When I stepped closer, the air smelled of that same metallic thing, pennies and old pennies. That sharp tang that makes your teeth feel loose. I took a photo. My hands didn't shake until I looked at the photo and saw the water's surface ripple in a pattern that spelled nothing. I folded the camera inside my jacket and went to the house. Inside, the house held its secrets like someone hoarded moths. In the shed, I found an oilcloth bundle with my name. Inside, a note. Do not let it in. A cassette, too. One of those small Walkman tapes. And my grandmother's voice again, older, the vowels tired. It will knock at night. It learns voices. It hums the tunes you forgot. It will sound like who you love. She gave instructions the way someone might give a recipe for survival. If it asks for tea, empty the kettle. If it offers to fix the clock, leave it frozen. It learns from gifts.
That night, the house hummed. 3 notes, a loop, like a key someone had lost. It sat under the skin of the floor and rose up into the mouth. I followed the sound to the kitchen. There was a teapot under a dish towel, a cup beside it. The clock on the wall had stopped at 3:09. The counter had a smear of wet dark that smelled faintly of old river and of iron. I went to bed and put a chair under the doorknob like my grandmother had once told me to do as a joke. I slept the way someone sleeps, knowing the something under the bed has learned the pattern of your chest. At 2 in the morning, there were 3 soft, careful knocks on my bedroom door. A voice said my name. At first, it was my grandmother's voice. Then it folded into my mother's. Then into the strangest thing of all, my own voice, reading a memory I had never told anyone. The cadence was warm, the vowels smooth. It said, with a politeness that felt like a hook, "Open the door. We're cold." The urge to open was a physical thing. My fingers ached. My lungs wanted the relief of a familiar face. I gripped the chair hard until my knuckles burned. I didn't answer. I told it to go away. It changed tones, a paper-thin surprise, like rain hitting paper. "Please." We were left. In the morning, there were wet prints across the tiled kitchen floor that stopped at the threshold. They looked like someone had been in water and stepped out to stare and then left nothing else behind. Days passed, like pages in a book you don't want to finish. I found things moved, a child's shoe tucked behind the oven where no child had lived, a neighbor's folded letter inside a mixing bowl, a hairpin wrapped around a nail where it didn't belong. The town spoke in the same small sentences people use to hide a deeper truth. It doesn't take all. It asks favors. We leave it little things so it learns to leave us alone. We'd been leaving it things for years. One night, months later, a package was on my apartment porch, wrapped in oilcloth, my name in my grandmother's slanting hand. Inside, a VHS, labeled in that slow hand, April. I took it to the sink and set it in the cold water. I watched the plastic shiver and then burn in the flame. The tape blackened, bubbled, and turned in on itself like something that had been eating its way out of paper. I thought that would be the last of it. I smelled the burning plastic in my throat for 3 days. I should have thought that ending it would end it. But the tape was a code, and burning its body doesn't always break the pattern. That night, a knock came at my door. It sounded wrapped in velvet.
It whispered my name in voices that had learned tenderness. The knob turned on its own, so slowly the screws did not complain. The hallway was empty. On my table lay the VHS cassette, unburned, with smoking edges and a note on top. We learned from them. Now we ask. Something in me wanted to open the door.
I didn't. And for a long time, I told myself I'd done enough. I moved apartments, changed numbers, started sleeping with every light on. I left the kettle empty. I left the clocks stopped. I thought that was armor enough. But Hollow Road is patient. It keeps a ledger. It waits for the right winter or the right hunger. It learns your lullabies like a child learning the days of the week. It practices until the vowel hits home. The final time, the knock was different. It came in the middle of an ordinary morning, too polite for a break-in, too practiced to be a prank. When I opened the door just a crack, there was no one. Only a smear of damp on the threshold and a smell that pulled at the back of the tongue. Water and pennies and the taste of metal. On my welcome mat was an object, a small, wrapped thing that felt like a child in its weight. I did not pick it up. I slammed the door and braced it with furniture. That night I realized what it wanted. Not to destroy, not to break, but to be loved into a room, to be given a chair under a knob, a cup poured and left to cool, a clock fixed so it can mark the hours and learn the rhythm of you. It wanted small permissions, the little domestic cruelties that make a life ordinary. There are worse bargains than death. Hollow Road taught me that the worst bargains are the ones you seal with kindness. And here is the worst part. It knows how to ask. It will call in your grandmother's voice and ask for a corner to warm. It will open a drawer and show a ring you thought was lost. It will hum the first lullaby your mother sang. And when you, softened by memory, let the door ease open, it will bring the rest inside. So let me be practical before anything else. If a voice you know asks you to open the door, do not. If a package appears with your name and an old label, burn it. If your kettle is brewing when you didn't light it, empty it. And if you ever find a tape labeled with 1 month, do not play it when your house is quiet. Sometimes, when the world outside is a soft bruise of rain, I wake to the sound of 3 polite knocks. I do not answer. But tonight the knocks have learned new rhythms. Tonight they are learning to sing every name I have loved.